Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Vocal. Welcome to week 2 of Leadership Theory. And this week we are really going to get into the heart of the class. Chapter 1, as I hope you read last week, sort of introduces you to the idea of taking a theoretical look at leadership and looking at all the different ways in brief that you could consider leadership. And so this week, by focusing on chapter 2, we're going to focus on probably the oldest approach to leadership, the oldest theoretical approach, which is called the trait approach. The trait approach is basically all about what are the traits that are most frequently associated with leadership. This has a long history of research behind it. And the idea is that there's some things about leaders that we know, and they tend to have particular traits associated with them. So that's the main idea of the chapter that we're going to be working with. What I want to do with our time, though, is rather than giving you a lecture of things that you can read, what I wanted to give you are a couple of tools. So the first tool that I want you to know about is a way of using your PowerPoint slides that we give you to kind of help you take notes as you read. I think you will find that what we call the chapter lecture. So for example, you have in this week's folder a chapter 2 lecture. Those are PowerPoint slides which provide you essentially an outline of the chapter. Now, is it a good enough outline to take quizzes by? No, you need to read the chapter. But what I suggest is a good way to get familiar with the concepts in the chapter is to review those lecture slides, then read the chapter in depth, and then take notes on the lecture slides so that you kind of fill it in and you have a quick and easy way to refer back. That is one approach to note-taking that you might want to consider. The other approach that you might want to consider is something called the Cornell method of note-taking. And the Cornell method of note-taking is used both for taking notes during a live lecture, but it's also used for taking notes on reading. And the reason that I bring it up is that very often my students share with me that they read the book, but they don't really know what to do other than to just read. And what the Cornell method does is it gives you an active way of interacting with the material. So I have included this week 2 extra videos. One is a very short introduction to the Cornell note-taking video, the Cornell note-taking method. The other is a longer take on the Cornell note-taking methods in case that you want a little bit more detail. I would encourage you to try it out while you're reading chapters. Try using the method and see if it helps you. And I'd be interested to hear as we go forward how well either of those methods work for you. But I find that using a specific method to take notes while I'm reading keeps me awake and it keeps me more engaged in the material. The final note I want to give you this week is that starting now, all of the journals are going to be really cool. And the journal assignments are always going to be about a leadership instrument that you're going to find at the end of the chapter. This week's is all about leadership traits, but I think one thing that I want you to have a little heads up about is that it asks you to give the instrument to 5 other people and then take it yourself. I realize that not everybody may have access to 5 other people. It would be helpful if you did. But if you can get at least 1 or 2 other people to take this instrument about you, and then you take it yourself, what that will give you is a comparison of how you appear to other people versus how you appear to yourself. And that is always useful information and good things to write about when we get to the journal. The other thing I want to say to you is make sure you have a book. If you do not have a book, that is not an excuse to not do your work. I can get you a book. I can loan you a book. I can get you the chapters that you need. I can tell you where to go in the library to find it on reserve. So please, please let me know if you are looking for a book. That said, you have a lot of work to do this week because we're sort of doubling up on chapters. So go forth, get your work done, try out these note-taking methods, and I will be checking back with you next week. Thanks.